Hey guys, welcome to the Roaming Homer podcast. I'm Caleb. That is Francisco, and welcome to episode number 4. So excited you guys can join us on this episode. We've got a packed show. We're going to be talking about the list of those top free agents that are still out there since we're still in the free agency era. We're going to be talking about who's left, whose window is going to be closing for a Super Bowl contender. Then we're going to be talking about a little bit about some of the rule changes that I've come across with the competition committee. And as always, we're going to end on our Be the Homer segment. So without further ado, roll that intro and let's get right into the show. Francisco, what's going on, man?
What's
Welcome to
going
the
on,
show.
brother?
Yeah,
Lot
man, we
going on.
got a lot to cover. So not much has happened in this last week. Not a whole lot of big name signings, not a whole lot of super movement that's going on. But let's start with these top free agents that are still there. Who do you have on your list that would be one of the top 2 or 3 that we should be keeping our eyes on, teams need, and where do you think that they may fit?
Well, my number one, obviously, because he was a Giant, is Odell. I still think he has something left in the tank. It just depends on where he's going to go. He's obviously not a number one anymore. He can be a solid number 2. I look at him in the vein of a number 2 wide receiver, somebody that can get open. If they have double team on the number 1. He can get you some points. He can score you some touchdowns if it's 10 yard. He's not a deep threat anymore. He doesn't have that speed. With all the leg injuries he's had, he's just not as fast as he used to be. I think he would be good for a team that's ready to win now. I think he'll be that guy that can fit on a team like, let's say, Kansas City, can fit on a team like San Francisco, a team that has to have another option when their main guy is being doubled or triple teamed down the field.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously the rumors are going around and all of that stuff is going around. He's already visited the Dolphins. I do think that he still has a little bit left in the tank. I don't think he's a number 1. I would venture to say I think he's a borderline number 2, to be honest with you. I think he is a solid number 3 with a veteran presence. And you want to talk about a scary wide receiver room? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and OBJ. I'll take that any day because somebody's going to be open. I think OBJ's got one of the best route running trees that are out there. I think he's proven he's a Super Bowl winner. He's Pro Bowl. I know he's injury prone, so he's got a lot of injuries that are on his docket. But I do think that he's solid out there. I don't think he's the number 1 signing. I think he's the sexiest signing because of a name. I think he's the name that's out there. But we've got some other names that are sitting out here when we talk about who's left out there. You got Hunter Renfrow. Let's stick with the wide receivers. Hunter Renfrow is still out there. 28-year-old wide receiver. I think he's a solid pick for somebody that still needs a wide receiver. Like you said, Kansas City. I don't want to see Kansas City get another wide receiver. They're becoming the Patriots to me. I think their time is over. It needs to be handled by someone else. But I do think that there are some teams out there that could use a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 in that situation. Shoot, give him over to Houston Texans.
I would say Atlanta.
With CJ Stroud.
I would say Atlanta.
Atlanta needs another one out there. Let's see. Indianapolis might need somebody.
No, they definitely need somebody. I could see him. I could see him in Atlanta, but I think Indianapolis would be a good spot for him to go as well. There's a bunch of teams out there, man. Even the Rams need wide receivers now.
They do.
So he might fall. He might go there. You know what I'm saying? So
Chargers need him.
Yeah. Chargers been cleaning house too. So
then they lost Keenan Allen.
Yep.
To the Bears, which now is a little suspect for Keenan Allen being out at Caleb's Pro Day, and they're talking a little bit about a tampering issue there, but that's going to be a good hookup if Caleb Williams goes there with Keenan Allen.
It can't be tampering because everybody knew he was going to be the number 1 pick. They can't use that logic and say tampering. He was going to be number 1 to Chicago. Period. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody knows where he was going.
Yeah. So, okay, we got a couple of wide receivers out. Let's talk a little bit about on the defensive side. A couple of names that I've got sitting down here. I've got Stephon Gilmore and Jamal Adams. I mean, two big names that are still sitting out there. Who needs safety help? Who needs corner help?
Everybody needs safety help and corner help in the NFL, man. There's not a team out there that's you can have five, you can have a rotation and they're still gonna need help, man. I mean, but right now, Stephon Gilmore is 33 years old. He's been in the league
Yeah.
for quite a while. He's that veteran presence again. He would do better served on a team that's ready to win now. I can't see him going to a team that's just, up and comer. He needs
Mhm.
to go somewhere because he wants to win now. His window is closing out of the league very, very fast. Because after 33, especially a safety, their catch up speed is not going to be the same. He
Right.
can still hit you across the middle. That's not going to be a problem for him. But
Mhm.
as far as catching up with dudes, it's at 33, it might be a little bit harder than he would think. So win now team. I could see him San Francisco again. I mean, Dallas needs people left and right. They haven't
That's
signed
true.
anybody, and they've lost a ton
Yes,
of people.
they are the loser of the free agency year. They have signed no one. They have, I think, 4 or 5 big names that their contracts are set to expire next year. So you talk about a win now team. Dallas is an absolute win now, but I'm not a I'm not a Dallas fan. I'm not a Jerry Jones fan. Let's put it that way. I don't like him as an owner. I don't that's just my own personal thing. But yeah, I think I could see him going there because they lost a nice corner earlier. I'm going to be a homer a little bit. Hey, a win now team, right, is Miami. We are building to win now. We lost a couple corners. We need a little bit of veteran help back there. Jalen Ramsey, Kendall Fuller, Javon Holland. Those are some of the younger guys that are back there, but we could use a Stephon Gilmore on a corner because if you have the safety over the top help that's fast, young, then you can compensate for somebody that can actually jam a receiver on the line. So you can compensate for the age there. Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams not going to go for cheap. Stephon Gilmore probably will go for cheap. It's a 1 maybe 2 year contract on the lower end. I think the Odell's going to be a lower contract. He's not going to go break somebody's bank. If he's out there thinking that he's going to break somebody's bank, I think that that's dumb because I don't think he's got enough left in him to show that he's a 4 or 5 year commitment guy. It might be a 1 year prove it kind of a deal. Don't get hurt. Maybe you get a signing bonus if you don't get hurt. You get a little extra money if you play 16 games, make so many catches, so on and so forth. I like that because that puts teams in a great position. If you're winning, that is the cure for every heartbreak. That's the cure for every pocketbook is winning. So if these guys like an Odell, Stephon, I think Hunter and Jamal still have a lot left in the tank. They're going to get some deals. I'm surprised Hunter hasn't been picked up or Jamal Adams. But those are the two names that I think that are out there that could be picked up. Now, you have my favorite quarterback of all time still sitting out there. Shout out to the Texas A&M wide receiver who decided he thought he was going to be able to play quarterback in Ryan Tannehill.
Come on, man.
So he's a bum,
Man,
man. Let's
come on,
go.
come on. He had
Come
winning years.
on.
He had winning years in Tennessee. Come on. Let's get a guy a break. He did win in Tennessee. They didn't go all the way, but he still took the team to the playoffs multiple years. I think
There's nobody going to sign this dude.
I honestly, where I could see him as a good backup? As a backup. I'm not saying as a starter. To
Carolina.
back up. No, 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 no. I could see him in Green Bay as a backup to Jordan Love. And I'm going to tell you why. He's that veteran presence that Jordan Love needs that he doesn't have anymore. He really doesn't have a guy who's won. He's won. He's been in the playoffs multiple times. I think he'd be a good presence for Jordan Love to teach him, unlike Rodgers was. I think that Tannehill will do well in Green Bay as a backup, and he could be a spot starter if something happens
Mm-hmm.
to Jordan Love, and he can win games. It's not like the guy can't win games, and he has plenty of weapons in Green Bay to be able to do that.
Yeah, Green Bay seems like a good fit. What happens if he goes up to your G-man? But your G-man is probably going to be, they're going to be picking a quarterback anyway.
They better listen. They better not. They better not. I'm telling you, they better not pick a quarterback at 6. I'm telling you,
At
the
6,
Giants fans.
I don't see him at 6. I don't see him. I think that would be a waste of a pick for them at 6. unless they just see something that we don't, and they get paid all that money that they get to see that we don't. But
And they've been wrong. They've been
well,
wrong. Last good
yeah,
quarterback they had was Eli.
true. And he wasn't superstar. Wait,
Oh, he
I
was a
don't think he was
superstar.
superstar.
He was a superstar. They just didn't give him the line help that he needed.
True.
He could have been in the league a lot more. He could have won a lot more
Yeah.
if they'd have gave him protection. So
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to a couple of these guys, like the two that I think that need to be signed. Jamal Adams looks like he was a rookie in 2017, so he's coming into his 7th year. Let's see, he played 3 years for the Jets, and then he's played the last 4, so he's going into his 8th year. My apologies, with the Seahawks. I think this guy's got about a good 4 or 5 years left in the tank
who's gonna pay
for
him?
him. That's the question. How much is he wanting? He's had no interceptions over the last 2 years. No interceptions. I think he was hurt the 2022 year. That was the year he got hurt. He has had a total of 4 interceptions in his career. He's a tackler. So he had, in 2020 was his best year with the Seahawks. Balled out. 9.5 sacks. 9.5 sacks as a safety. That's insane. There's some DNs that don't get 9.5 sacks.
Right.
So he balled out that year, 2019 with the Jets. He balled out. That's when he got his big contract with the Seahawks. He had 6.5 sacks, had 1 interception. Looked like he ran that back for a touchdown. So that's all he's done. So I don't know. The more I look at his stuff, the more I'm like, he's probably not going to get paid the big bucks. Now you've got Stephon Gilmore. He's out there. Hunter Renfrow. Let's take a look at him. For him, he's been in the league. How many years has he been in the league? 2019 draft. So he's still young. He's had 2,800 yards over his career, almost 2,900 yards. 269 receptions, 17 total touchdowns. Very solid wide receiver too. Good position player. I think somebody could pick him up. I would like to see him go to the Colts, because I think the Colts need something. They were on the verge last year until their quarterback went down and they had to play catch up with their backup, which did well, but I still think that they're right on that cusp of doing decently well. So I'd like to see that happen.
But you have to overpay. So this is what people don't understand. Indy is good, but they're not Peyton Manning area good. Okay, they're an up and coming team, and I'm telling you, most of these guys have been in the league 7-8 years. They're either doing two things: one, they want to win a championship. That's first and foremost because they've gotten paid already, or two, they haven't gotten paid, and someone's going to go overpay them to keep them, bring them to that team, and then they're going to say, "Oh, well, I wanted to come here because they're young and they're up and coming." No, you went there because they overpaid you to go there. So I think for most of these guys on this list, I think that's going to, except for maybe Tannehill, most of these guys are gonna want to get paid, and I think how they do it is how they finagle it. Some of these teams are going to sign them for a vet minimum and then give them like a $5 million signing bonus to offset whatever that is.
Right. And I think some of these places are being smarter about that, and with the cap that's that. I know Miami just completely went back into the black with their cap by allowing Chubb to have all of his as a signing bonus, which freed up a lot of cap. And so teams are getting smarter with this. So they're freeing up some stuff so they can do that. So, all right. So that's top free agents. We'll see what happens in the next coming weeks with the draft. We probably won't see a whole lot of movement that is going to happen until the draft. We'll probably see a few things that are going to happen probably a week or so before the draft, and then right during the draft, because a lot of people are going to hold a lot of cards to their chest in what's going on. And by the way, just a plug, the podcast is looking to do something special. Plans are in works. We're still trying to figure this out for night 1 of the draft. So stay tuned. We'll get you some more information. We'll be posting out there if we're going to be doing something special for the draft and just bringing you some information. about two guys who love football and want to talk a little bit about the draft. So, top free agent segment. So, Francisco, let's move to our second segment of the night. Let's talk a little bit about Super Bowl contenders. We've had a lot of movement. We've had a lot of big names sign, a lot of re-signings with their current teams, a lot of movements to different teams. The outlook of the NFL is changing. Maybe some old guards are changing, some new faces are coming up. Talk to me about what you think are your top 5 Super Bowl contenders right now in the league as it stands today, not the draft, because everything can change if people are doing something in the draft. What do you look at right now?
So number one, you have to put on number one. It's Kansas City. Until you
Hmm.
knock them off, until somebody beats them and takes the crown, they're the number one
Right.
team to beat. Even though they really haven't done much this year, in free agency wise, but I mean, for some reason they just always find a way to win, whether it be luck, whether it
Hmm.
be injuries from some other team. They find a way to win, so they're obviously the number one. Number two to me is San Francisco. They were close. I mean, they were so close. I think they have the ability to get there again because
Hmm.
let's keep it real. The NFC is not the most dominant. The NFC West is not the most dominant division in football. So
Hmm.
they have the ability to go out and dominate again and win 14, 15 games and get there. Got to put the Eagles in that category as well. Even though I'm hoping they implode this year. That's just that's my wish because I don't want to see Saquon win a Super Bowl with Philly. Dallas is in that conversation, even though I hate Dallas. They're still in the conversation because they're Dallas. They always find a way to win. The problem is this: they implode every time they get to the playoffs.
Let's say they always find a way to win, and then they always find a way to lose in
So,
the same season.
so my fourth team is going to surprise a lot of people. I think Las Vegas has an opportunity to surprise some people this year.
Wow. All right, we're going to put that on the hot take list of the year.
I think.
Oh.
I'm serious. I think Las Vegas. I think the Raiders are going to be able to surprise some people this year. They're going to catch some people off guard. People are going to sleep on them, and I'm telling you, they're going to end up dominating some people, and people are not going to realize it. And then Buffalo. I got to give it to Buffalo, man, because they cannot get past Kansas City. For some reason, that is their kryptonite. They cannot get past them. But I think if they get past Kansas City, they make it to the Super Bowl. Period.
Okay. All right. I like your list. I think you left off a few teams. I like your hot take. So our boy CV Sherrard, if you're listening, that's your hot take. I know you're jumping up and down for that one, a longtime Raiders fan. So there's your Homer segment of the day, but the hot take. So all right, and to quote a very famous guy, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo! Go Ric Flair. So you're right. The Chiefs, until they're beaten, they're the champs. You got to give it to them. As much as I don't like Mahomes, I don't like him. That's not to say that he is not a super talented, Super Bowl winning MVP. If he continues on this trajectory, first bout Hall of Famer, all of that down the road, I just don't like him.
Oh, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer already. He's got 3 rings, bro. He's
kind of like I don't like it's kind of like I don't like LeBron, but I can't say LeBron is not a GOAT. A GOAT, not the GOAT, a GOAT. That's for another segment.
He's 1B.
1B, yeah.
Yeah, 1B.
I want to give it to you, the 49ers. The 49ers are super close. I think the 49ers are on the edge from the NFC. I'm just looking at my list here. Let's see. Listen, I'm going to be a homer for a minute. I think the moves that Miami has made in the offseason and the losses that the Bills have had in the offseason, I think the Dolphins can take the AFC East and knock out the Bills. The other team in the AFC that I'm nervous about are the Jets.
Why?
Aaron Rodgers is coming back. We're going to see. I'm only nervous, cautiously optimistic that it's not going to work out like a bad marriage, but you can't count him out. He's a magician. The guy can make nothing, like something out of nothing. We'll see if he clicks in New York. We'll see if it happens, or does he not? But I do think the Dolphins are going to win the AFC East. They're going. I think that I have to put them on my list. I have to. They were on a roll last year. Injury bug caught them. We're going to go from there. I'm not putting the Eagles in there. I'm not putting the Eagles. I'm putting the Ravens. The Ravens, I think, are a Super Bowl contender. I think the Ravens also need to get past their playoff win detriment and not being able to go through and win in the playoffs. They need to get past that. This might be the year that they do it. All right, you ready? You ready for my hot take?
Mm-hmm.
I've been riding this dude's coattails all year long. Houston. All day. That's my hot take.
Yeah, that's definitely a hot take.
That's my hot take. And I'm gonna stick with it because I'm gonna ride my boy CJ's wagon. I've hitched my horses to him. Tank Dell is out there. Depends on what they do in the draft. They are building a team around him, and they have the confidence in him. He has the confidence in that team. That locker room is all on board with him. When you have some of those things, that is more than what you can do by putting 11 talented people on the field. Super Bowl contender caliber people. If they can't click, you don't have a team. Bunch of prima donnas. This team is doing it differently. So watch out for Houston. That's my sleeper pick of the year. They're going to go deep. I'm going to pick them as my Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, that's definitely a hot take because, like I said in the podcast last week, I think he takes a step back this year a little bit because they're going to have film on him. They're going to have tons and tons of tape. They're going to look at this kid up and down. He had a great rookie season. Don't get me wrong. The kid was phenomenal, got his first playoff win. He did great. But they're going to have the tape on this kid. And I guarantee you those same numbers and those same hero tactics that he had, it's not going to fly this year. I'm telling you. It's going to be a different ballgame. They'll still be competitive. I still think they might make the playoffs. They ain't winning no Super Bowl. They're not no Super Bowl contender. Not yet. Maybe a year or two away. Not this year coming up.
They might only be a pick or two away. You never know. You never know. I'm going to put that in my hot take bucket. We're going to see where we are. We're going to see where we are mid-season and see how Houston is doing. And if anybody's still going to jump on my bandwagon, mark it down. My hot take of the year. Houston is a contender. Didn't say they were winning the Super Bowl. I said they are a contender, which means going deep in the playoffs, AFC championship level type of movement. That is a contender to me. Someone who can make it to the AFC or NFC championship, to me, is a contender. I said the Chiefs, 49ers, Ravens, Dolphins, and Texans. Those are mine. The NFC is horrible. Niners, I'm just giving it to you. You don't need to play anybody. Niners, you got it. So all day long. There's nobody really going to compete with them, but I'm just not an NFC guy because there's the talent in the NFC is just not there. So, and if you're an NFC fan, if you've got to bring it on, let us know. Tell me how much I'm wrong. Tell me what your team is and who you think and why you think it. Drop it in the comments. Listen, this show is about what you guys want to hear as well, not just about two guys talking, but we want to hear it. Drop it in the comments. Tell us how bad we're thinking. Tell us what we're right on. Tell us what we're wrong on, and we love to hear from you guys. So drop it in the comments down below. All right. Any last thoughts on the Super Bowl contenders before we move to our next segment?
Nah, it's just that Houston, you picking Houston to be a Super Bowl contender this year. I just think
you picked the Raiders.
Hey, the Raiders
with no quarterback.
Listen, I'm telling you, don't sleep on the Raiders. Don't sleep on the Raiders this year.
They don't have a quarterback.
They can get one. They can get one.
You're picking a Super Bowl contender going to the AFC Championship game with no quarterback.
They have the ability to get there, yes.
And I've got a hot take.
You can listen. You
rookie of the year quarterback.
You've had teams win Super Bowls with guys who are backups. Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson. Come on, you don't need you can have a game manager.
Let's not talk about Trent. Let's not talk about Trent Dilfer and the Ravens defense with Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and all of those guys over there. Let's not talk about that. All you got to score. Listen, if you have Justin Tucker, all you had to do was kick a field goal, and that team was winning because that defense didn't allow jack squat to be scored. So, yes, Trent Dilfer can do it, all of those guys, but you're talking about a team You're hating on my pick with the rookie of the year quarterback, and you're picking a team that doesn't even have a quarterback right now.
I'm telling you.
Is Jimmy G still on the roster, or did they cut him yet?
No, he's off. I think they cut
Okay.
him already.
So they're shopping around on the Vegas Strip for somebody that can pretend to be a quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, Vegas is all about actors.
You can stick Tannehill
So
back there. He could be efficient behind that line. You can be quiet all you want to. The man made the playoffs. Man made the playoffs plenty of times with Tennessee. Don't act like he didn't make the playoffs. The guy.
I'm sorry,
won
Vegas
games.
fans. I'm sorry if
For
you're listening right now.
For 1 year, you can't have him on the line for 1 year. Come on.
Tannehill will not lead you to the AFC Championship game. They don't have enough weapons. He had Derrick Henry. And he had Hopkins. Well, he was a backup to Will Levis, but they had Hopkins and Derrick Henry and still didn't do jack. Tannehill is nothing more than a mediocre 8-8, because that's all he could do in Miami. That's all he could do anywhere else. He's not leading you to nothing of a championship caliber ever. He might want to trade his number for a wide receiver number and get back out there, because he's not slinging the ball to any type of contender. So I'm sorry, Vegas fans, for my partner over here saying that Ryan Tannehill could be your quarterback.
For 1 year, yes. Absolutely. For 1 year, yes. Absolutely.
Oh, he could be anybody's quarterback for 1 year. He's still not leading you anywhere.
He can bridge the gap till they get their quarterback.
Mm-hmm. But then that means they're not going to the AFC Championship. So I digress. So all the Ryan Tannehill lovers out there are hating me right now, but that's all right. So if there's only about 3 of you out there. All right. So we're gonna move on from the top Super Bowl contenders. Gosh, I hate Ryan Tannehill so bad, but the top Super Bowl contenders, we're going to go and talk. We're going to talk news. It's not the sexy things that we like to talk about, but it is important to the NFL. The competition committee met, I believe it was today, and finalized a few rules. And there's a rule out there that's looking at. But one of the biggest ones that they did, and I had to look this up. I'm going to be 100% transparent with you. I had no idea what this tackle was. It is the drop tackle, right? And so I had no idea what it was. I mean, you mentioned it to me before the show, and I was like, I got to look this up. I have no idea what this is. Then I looked it up, and I saw the Pat McAfee show when they had J.J. Watt on there, and he's like, what is that? If someone was to ask me to describe a drop tackle, I could never do it. So for the viewers, real quick, a drop tackle is when the defender goes to the side, wraps around the waist, kicks his feet out, and drops his hips to the ground. Most notably is the Mark Andrews one at the beginning of the year last year, where he got pretty injured. Looking at the tackle, it's not a great tackle. It is injury prone, very, very common to the horse collar tackle. It is just a tackle that does not look good. Legs can get caught up underneath, blown out knees, busted ankles, things like that. So, Francisco, talk to me. Did you know about what this tackle was? What's your thoughts on the tackle? What's your thoughts on this ruling?
So, first of all, this is absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous that you would ban this, because how do you expect guys to tackle now? You can't go below the knees at a certain point. You can't go up high. Now you can't go to the waist. Now what? We're just going to torpedo guys straight into the chest, and then after a while they'll stop saying that tackle is illegal as well. How are you supposed to tackle guys now? You're taking away 3 basic parts of the body: the bottom of the legs, which I understand because of the knees, going to the head with the horse collar, or just going to the head, period. But now you're taking away the essentially around the waist. Most of these guys, when they're running and they're going after guys, the only thing they have to clutch onto is their hips when they're running and bringing them down. You think these guys are going to be able to control their bodies? The Players Association was against this. This is the Players Associations. The players are telling you that this is nonsense, that they did not want this blocked. You're making it hard. It's going to be unwatchable. The NFL is going to be unwatchable. They're making this so towards the offense now. It's going to make things hard for anybody to watch the game. You're not progressing the game. You're making the game worse by this.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you on this in a couple of ways. I think, and then I'm going to disagree a little bit. So I'll go with my agreements. I think that they have stifled defenders so much, all defenders, corners, safeties, linebackers, defensive tackle, all defense, because we know that the NFL has become an offensive game. They have stifled them where they can't do certain things. I'm against the chop block. I think that that's terrible. The blindside tackles where somebody is coming from the side and hits a guy because he's going to go do the tackle and that's a flag. I think that's a little petty to me. If you're out there, it is a physical contact sport. You sign up to hit one another. People are getting bigger, faster, and stronger every day. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, completely different. I was just talking to somebody about back in the 80s and 70s, Jack Lambert, Dick Butkus, and all of those guys who used to play. I believe it was Jack Lambert that used to wrap his arm so that he could club people in the head with his forearm. And I don't agree with that. That's dirty playing. But there's got to be a happy medium with this. Now, here's my flip side to some of the agreement, I think, with certain things. We have to look out for player safety. I get that. I think there is a place where guys getting hurt hurts the game. This is their livelihood. This is what they get paid to do. If they're out there getting hurt because of a dirty tackle or a bad tackle or whatnot, then we've got to look at that. I don't agree with the banning of it at all. I think if we were going to do that, then we might as well ban blindside defensive ends coming off the end, like a Lawrence Taylor who took Joe Theismann's leg and made it a Q-tip. Like, those types of things are not, they're freak accidents. People get hurt all the time. Guy blew his Achilles in the Super Bowl, I think it was, coming off of the sideline, gets up, walks out, healthy athlete, blows his Achilles. I don't think that we need to do anything to help people getting injured, but I also think that we need to take a step back and say, this is a contact sport. People are signing up to hit people, and they're taking the risk to getting hurt. So I think either that, what they're doing is they've taken away the tackle. Now, I've been a football coach before, and I've watched some of these coaches teach these younger kids in middle school how to tackle, and it's wrong. And coaches, you can battle me this all day long. I've always been taught you put your head on the ball. Now, you don't spear the guy in the chest, but you put your head, face mask on the ball, and you go after it. I've watched coaches tell them to put their head behind the guy and try to tackle with their shoulder. And all I'm watching is shoulders being separated and muscles being ripped off and stuff like that, because you can't tackle somebody coming at full force with just your arm. So this is a lot of stuff that's going on. You just said Players Association doesn't want this. Are we going to flag football?
But here's my thing too, though. Like, these guys can't body control themselves. When you're going full bore at somebody, you're trying to tackle them, your first concern is not let me see how I got to turn my body to try to tackle this guy. Your whole objective is to bring them down as necessary. Now, a lot of these guys, you still see a horse collar tackle in the NFL, even though it's not allowed, because some of these guys can't control themselves. When they're out there, their whole objective is go out there and bring the guy down. Now, if you go, let's say you can actually kill, you do realize, like, people don't understand, you can literally kill someone if you go helmet first into somebody's chest hard enough. You can cause someone to have cardiac arrest. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So my thing is, how are you supposed to bring people down? If you're bringing them down by the arm, you can still tear somebody's arm socket out. You can tear tendons in the arm. You can do a separated shoulder from doing that.
Yep.
How are we supposed to bring guys down now? Like they're making it so hard for the defense to actually get out there and do their job This isn't an
Right.
offensive game. They want to see touchdowns, but they don't understand defense wins football games. Period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I did see where they're banning this in rugby as well. And I've never played rugby, but rugby is much more
Brutal.
physical than football. It's
Rugby is it's a beautiful game, but it is absolutely, these guys in the NFL wouldn't last one game in rugby.
not 1 second.
Not
Not
1
1
second in
second.
rugby.
And
These
the
guys
men
are
and women that play that game are ridiculous.
these guys and girls are literally playing without helmets. The pads are minimal that they're using. It's more physical. It's more brutal.
Yeah.
But my thing is in football, you have pads for a reason. You have gear.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let these guys tackle. If these guys are going to be so concerned about getting fined, getting tossed out of the game, you're going to see a lot of missed tackles now, or a lot less effort on trying to tackle somebody because they're afraid that they're going to get fined.
Yeah, I think I go back to the helmet to helmet, especially in college, that when you have the offensive guy going down and lowers himself so far to the ground, the defender can't get low enough. And then they throw a flag for helmet to helmet. And some of these are game changers where these guys are tossed out of the game. It is bananas to me. You know when there is an egregious helmet to helmet hit. And there was one, I believe, against the Ravens several years ago that one of the Miami Dolphins did, and I can't remember who it was. He went for a slide, and the guy took his head off. And that is egregious. That should not happen. That wasn't body control. That was, you could tell he was going after him. If you graze him, that's one thing. This guy literally put his head to the core of the earth. He hit him so hard, knocked him out, gave him a concussion. It was bad. That's egregious to me. But I think these bang bangs where you've got to slow it down enough to see that this offensive guy is lowering. We're just getting to a place right now that it is a complete offensive game. We might as well make it 7-on-7 with just helmets. Give him some flags and go play 2-hand touch. It's, I mean, if that's what you want, if you want high scoring, adventurous games, then let's just make it 2-hand touch, flag football.
Just make it half the field and do arena football, because that's essentially that's what it's turning into. You know, the old arena football scores, they used to be 50, 60, 75. That's what they want. You might as well just shorten the field then if you're going to do that. My thing is,
but arena football had a ring around it, and you would get plastered into it like a hockey player.
Right, but
how safe is that?
Yeah, but it was only 50 yards. So I mean, it's still playable. It's a lot. It was a lot, high scoring for a reason. My thing is this rule has to be reviewable. You have to be able to review this play. You can't call the whistle and then it's a dead whistle and then the play continues. You have to be able to review this play, because this is going to be detrimental to a lot of teams in the league when guys are trying to tackle. So, I mean, I believe that.
I'm going to tell you, I agree with you. Like, the horse collar tackle is reviewable and all of that. I can tell you that this will be more subjective. I'm sorry, it would be more objective to the referee looking at it, as opposed to a horse collar, which is when you get inside, not just the jersey, but inside of the pads and pull down. That's a whole nother story. Face masks. It's a cut and dry type of penalty. This is so ambiguous. It's one guy, one girl is going to call it one way. New York is going to call it another when they're up in the booth looking at it. This one's going to cause a lot of problems this year, because obviously new rules are always going to cause problems. So we'll see what happens and how the defense plays. We might have 160 to 125 games like NBA, because people just can't tackle anymore. But all right, so the second rule change that they voted on, I could take it or leave it on this one. I don't know about this one. But the challenges. So right now a team gets 2 challenges. If you're successful on the second or both challenges, the rule now is that you get a third possible challenge. What's your outlook? What's your take on challenges right now within the NFL? And are they good? Are they bad?
Oh no, they're phenomenal. They're absolutely phenomenal, because you're going to get a clear cut view of what's what. And if they win both challenges throughout the game, let's say it depends on when they can have the challenge. So if it's during the last 2 minutes of the game and you can challenge a play on the last 2 minutes of the game with that third challenge, oh yeah, absolutely. Because how many teams have lost this year on the last 2 minutes of the game because of blown calls by the referee or missed calls by the refs not doing their job that they're supposed to do? Yes, absolutely. If they can win the first two challenges, yes, give them a third challenge. But that third challenge, I think, needs to be specific for the fourth quarter. You need to save that challenge specifically for the fourth quarter. I think that'd be that's the rule change that I would prefer.
Yeah, but I don't think you can challenge within the 2 minutes of the each half. I think all things are looked at within the last 2 minutes of each half. Everything is reviewable. So I think all penalties, all touchdowns, all rulings, stuff like that can come from the booth and from New York on the last 2 minutes of each half, especially the last 2 minutes of the game. So I do like your take on the third. I do think it's good because, well, unless you have a coach that just sucks at challenges, Mike McDaniels, you don't need a challenge flag ever. Somebody needs to take his challenge flag. He sucks at challenges. I don't even know if he's ever won one. He throws it and we lose every time. But the third one would be good because if you are successful, that means you're looking at stuff, you're calling stuff right, and it's good. If you don't get them, you don't get it. So if you suck at challenging, then you don't get the extra one.
But do you realize that these guys already see what's going on? Because automatically, let's say if it's a home game, you know when they blow the whistle and then you got that 10 second or 15-second window, they're playing it up the replay up on the jumbotron, and that's how the refs are calling. That's how the coaches are calling for the challenge because the booth is showing them the play before that whistle and before they set. So absolutely, I think if they can get a third one, get a third one. Why not?
Well, and you've got guys up in the tower watching too, and they're calling down, telling them to throw the flag or not throw the flag. So you got a lot of eyes on it. So I think a third one is good. So, all right, we won't spend a lot of time on this one because it hasn't been ruled upon, but the possible new kickoff rule. I'm going to be honest with you. I looked up this thing. I don't know what they're talking about, but basically I'm looking here and it talks about a landing zone is between the receiving team's goal line and the 20-yard line. So basically the red zone. And the kicking team can't move until the ball gets into the landing zone or hits the ground. Like I'm confused on this. Why don't you just give them the ball on the 20 and stop kickoffs altogether?
It makes sense.
I could do away with a kickoff. It doesn't really matter. Because I think the thing that makes me mad about the kickoffs is when you're watching a game, they kick off, they run back, they go to commercial. So just take that extra time and play another commercial. Start them out on the 20-yard line and go.
Listen, kickoffs have not been the same since Josh Cribbs and Devin Hester retired because it's not. These guys are not running back. It's rare that you see somebody running back for a touchdown on a kickoff. It just doesn't happen as much anymore. I like that idea. Just spot them at the 20 and start the game. Like it just makes things easier. Most of these guys are going to kick it out of the in the infield anyway and go past the goalpost. It's going to go out. It's going to start on the 20 anyway. So just start it there. Start the game there.
Well, I'm just looking at that because I just thought about this. I'm looking up some stats really quick, and I'm looking at the touchback percentages of kickoffs. And you've got Green Bay at 43%, get a new kicker. Tennessee, 47%, get a new kicker. Buffalo, 57%, get a new kicker. Your boys, the Giants, at 58%. And then it starts to creep up into the 60s. So when you start the top teams, Dallas, 89%, Washington, 88%, Rams, 87%. You've got Miami sitting at 83% at number 11. When you're talking about 75 to 80% of these teams kicking touchbacks, what's the point? It's a waste of time. And the days of getting the Devin Hesters, and there was a couple other guys out there that they were
Josh Cribbs.
Miami drafted Ted Ginn Jr. because they thought he was going to be Devin Hester. Waste of a draft pick. You don't draft a special teams guy. Like, don't draft that. Find that special teams guy within your team that might be on the second tier and put him back there. Don't put your star receiver back there. I remember Tyreek said he wanted to catch kickoffs. I thought he was the dumbest guy in the world. Stop. Jalen Waddle, stop. Don't do that. Do what you need to do on the offensive side, not the special teams. Let the guys on the special teams be the ones that they need to show up. Give them some playing time. I'm a fan. Get rid of the kickoff completely. Don't get rid of the punt. I like punts. I need to look up the percentage of how many fair catches we've got. Punts, I think, are more dangerous than kickoffs.
I like punts because these guys can shank them too. So, bad kick, bad win. They can shank them or they can kick it short. So, yes, punts, I think, stay. But kickoff, just put it on 20.
Yeah.
Just put it on 20.
And punts make a difference in a game. So, if you can pin someone back between the 10s and the 5, all of those things, they can make or break a half, a quarter, a defensive stand. Because if you trust your defense and you pin somebody back inside the 20 and you can stop them, then you flip field. That makes a difference. I don't think they need to get rid of the punt. I do think that somebody needs to be writing this competition committee and tell them all, we need to get rid of the kickoff team. I don't know what the kickers will do because place kickers and kickoff people sometimes are different, or the field goal kickers are different, but I don't like the kickoff. I think it's dumb. It's a waste of time, and get rid of it. So I don't even care what the new rule is. And you have a landing zone. It's not a freaking airport. It's a football game. So I don't know. It's stupid. Anyway. All right. So last segment of the day. It's our favorite segment. It's my favorite segment. It's our Be a Homer segment. And so this is where we take a few moments and just talk about our teams. So before we get into that, subscribe, like, share the content. If you want to hear about your team, if you want us to talk specifically, look up some stats and do some specific talk about your team or one of your favorite players, drop a comment. We'll be more than happy to talk with you, shout you out on the show. Would love to do that. But like, subscribe, share the content on YouTube. It's over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But let's get right into the last segment of the night, our Be a Homer. Francisco, go.
So I will tell you this, the New York Giants, I don't know who's running that place now, because the idiotic things that are coming out of their mouths right now about Daniel Jones, saying that it's not about his performance that's giving them doubts about him. It's about his injury. No, it's about his performance. His performance is terrible. He had one good year. He had one good
performance issues.
Yeah, he definitely has performance issues. He had one good year and he couldn't do anything the next year. The guy's done. He's cooked. He's done. He's not gonna, no matter what they say, he's not the guy. Listen, I was rooting for Danny when they had their playoff run and they beat the Vikings. He just couldn't deliver the next year. And the guy's hurt all the time now. The guy's just injury prone as well. But his performance didn't help either. Listen, Giants, do not select a quarterback at 6. I don't want to hear J.J. McCarthy's name being called. Don't do it. And you guys keep the news media. What's aggravating me about the media is they are trying to push this kid on us like he's the next coming. And he's not. He's not. I don't know what the problem is with the New York Giants, that they think their problems are going to be solved by picking up another no-name quarterback from Michigan. He's a no-name. I'm sorry. You had Harbaugh. That is the only reason you guys were successful. J.J. McCarthy is not the guy. Not for New York City, he's not. He's not that guy. You're better off waiting to see what's going to happen. You can always find somebody else in the draft. You don't have to waste that pick. If you're going to choose a quarterback, go down in the draft, get some assets, and then pick somebody else up that we can deal with. If anything else, you still have Danny locked in for this year and 2 more years if you want to keep him, because they have an exit clause. They do have an exit clause from after this year. But why are you going to do that? Like, why are you going to waste a draft pick on this kid? For what? You can start building that capital. Just don't do it, please.
So I saw, just before I get into my segment, I saw a meme that basically said that Zach Wilson and JJ McCarthy were the same guy, and I had to laugh because it is. But I hope you don't pick him. I really hope that you all don't pick him. I think that would be a complete waste of a draft pick on what you got. All right. 305. Talk to me. I see rumors floating around. Listen, I watch you on Bleacher Report. I watch the community for the Miami Dolphins on the Bleacher Report. And let me tell you, you're either a Tua lover or a Tua hater. There's nobody that's in between. If Tua sneezes wrong, you guys are ready to throw him out with the bathwater. If he's winning, he's the best next thing since Dan Marino. Y'all can't get it figured out. So the community at the 305, the Miami Dolphins community, hear me loud. Stick with the guy. He proved himself last year. He did. He played all 16 games. He did extremely well. Sure. Does he have his faults? He does. He have his faults. He can't take a second, third, and fourth read. But man, is he accurate. And yes, you can say he's accurate on his first throw. He doesn't go on his second read and stuff like that. If his guy's open and he gets it to him, great. Well, he's only throwing to Tyreek Hill. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? I love Jaden Waddle to the next guy, but it's Tyreek freaking Hill. If he's open, throw him the freaking ball. And if we get OBJ, listen, let's go. I love that. I love the fact that we're looking at OBJ. Don't want to overpay him. So Ross, don't overpay him. Greer, don't overpay him. But this is the rumor that I heard. Had a conversation with some people a couple of nights ago about this. The rumor of Tua being traded to the Vikings for Justin Jefferson. I'm going to say, would you not do that? I would do that if I had a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback in the backfield as a backup. But we don't. We don't have a Pro Bowl quarterback as a backup. So basically, we're giving our quarterback to get a wide receiver room that has been never seen before with a Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and then a Justin Jefferson. Anybody would die to have that. But not any quarterback can use that. It's too much firepower. It's kind of like giving a little kid a 12-gauge shotgun and telling him to shoot straight. It's not going to happen. So, I'm not a fan. Tua's not going to go to Minnesota. I think that is the dumbest thing in the world. We've got Tua for this year. Might be a make or break, prove it year for him. Go pick up Odell Beckham Jr. Have a very good wide receiver 3. Braxton Berrios has been signed. We filled a ton of great holes within the defense with some of those guys moving. Listen, the outlook in the 305, the outlook of the Miami Dolphins, for me, is top notch. I like where we're going. Barring injury, they're talking about Chubb and Phillips being back by week 1. If that's the case, look out. We're coming for you, Buffalo. We're coming for the AFC. I think we're doing some great things, but y'all need to kill this Tua trade bullcrap. Let him ride. Let him ride. So that's my homer section. So we want to appreciate you guys. Love that you guys are here. Before we wrap up, Francisco, any last thoughts for the viewers or anything that you want to share before we wrap this thing up with a nice bow?
Yeah, I mean, if people are, this is non-football related, if people are into the NCAA basketball tournament, men and women's side, man, there's been a lot of interesting games so far. A lot of people dropping like flies in higher ranked seeds, dropping like flies. It's going to be very interesting. The Sweet 16 is set. So just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy the basketball till spring football comes back around and just, get it going.
Yeah. It's been interesting. I don't watch a ton of college basketball, but I've seen a lot of upsets, a lot of bracket busters, and we don't have any perfect brackets anymore across the world. There are no more perfect brackets, but there's still some winners out there. So keep plugging along with whatever bracket you got. So, all right, guys. Well, that's the show. That is all that we've got for tonight. We appreciate you guys giving us all your love and your support, whether that is through the audio podcast that you can find on Spotify or Apple, or if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe, share the content. And again, give us some comments, give us that thumbs up, hit that bell so that you guys get notified of when we drop new content. You can check us out on Instagram at The Roaming Homer. Until next time, I'm Caleb. That is Francisco, and we appreciate you being part of the Roaming Homer podcast.